Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. Today's video we're focusing on the Titleist T250U iron. I've recently been for a fitting at Woburn with Titleist for this particular club. I've never had it on the golf course. I kind of liked it when I was hitting it on their range. However, let's put it to the test on the golf course here today at Churston. I'm going to hit a number of shots with this particular club, see how it performs, but I'm also going to tell you exactly what Titleist is saying that can hopefully help improve your game, and this club hopefully will be going in my bag. Let's get it on the course. Now, there's a couple of options available when it comes to the T250U, when it comes to, let's say, loft on these clubs. Now, in this particular setup, I've gone for a 3-iron, and there's a number of things that I like to test when I've got kind of like a hybrid or a long iron in the bag. And we're going to put those to the test today, as I've already said. But ultimately, yardage is obviously really important because ideally you're trying to get this club to gap in nicely with your kind of mid to long irons and then up into, let's say, your fairway woods. First shot out, I think that was pretty much spot on. Don't think I'm going to beat that actually today. That was as good as I can do with this particular club. Now, 4-iron for me goes around 190 yards, so I'm looking for something that's going to be up and around that sort of 200-yard mark, which gaps nicely up to my 5-wood. But I also want this club to be able to hit it high. I want to hit it low. I want to be able to move it both ways. So let's really put it to the test. Now, from a spec point of view, when it comes to the club that I was fitted for, remember I went for a 3-iron, wanted something to really fit in nicely up the top end of my bag beyond my 4-iron. However, the shaft that we went for was a 6.0 hazardous, which is, it's got an 80-gram hybrid shaft, UHY. It's like an 80-gram hybrid shaft, but we felt that maybe this one was going to be a little bit too light considering what I've got in my bag. However, performance-wise, it just made me feel like I could swing it really smoothly. Also, from a grip point of view, like I've got in all of my clubs in the bag, we're going to go for the Align Max, which is the new range from Golf Pride, which has got the rib down the back, makes me really feel like I can get my hands into the right position at address, which I think is extremely important, especially when we're lining up that club face. Now, Titleist moving the T250U on from a previous generation of T200. Now, for those of you that know, Titleist have released a new range of T-Series irons, meaning that we've got now a T100, T150, T250, and the T350, keeping it more in line, let's say. Well, the T250U, which is the one that we're testing here today, has a really premium kind of look to it. It really does. When you look at it from the back, you kind of think that actually you're picking up more of a bladed iron. Well, the U club, the utility iron on this particular one, blends in from the T250 irons. But there's a little bit more tech in this one that allows you to be able to launch that ball up in the air just a little bit easier, so get it up in the air, which allows us to push the CG lower in the club face, getting that ball to launch just a little bit higher, which is what we're kind of looking for when it comes to long irons. Lots of players out there that put 3-irons in their bags need the speed to get the ball up in the air. Well, by locating that CG a little bit lower, it will help you launch that up without having the speed that's probably needed. You're also able to put in sort of graphite shafts, or should we say hybrid shafts, into these particular irons, again allowing us to swing it maybe just a little bit quicker and get it out there a little bit further. But there's a lot more tech inside the head, which we'll get into as we get on around this golf course. However, I've got a few different shots that I want to play from the 10th tee. Now, you've got to think that this club is designed to launch that ball up into the air. So we're going to have a little play with it, hit a couple of shots down here and see how low I can actually get it. But my first thoughts are I want to tee it down low and catch it a little bit low out the face to be able to get that lower launch out of it. And hopefully we can keep the spin off it by swinging it just a little bit smoother. Okay, so I'm going to put it a little bit back in the stance. Keep my handle just a little bit forward, which is going to take a little bit of that loft off. I'm going to try and hit this kind of straightish if I can. Oh, nice. That was like a low pusher out to the right-hand side there. Absolutely what I kind of wanted it to do, to be honest with you. Nice flight. Didn't look like it wanted to sort of jump up on me too much, which is always quite good. Sometimes when you get these clubs, and certainly hybrids, you can start to see that ball want to just spin up and just sort of come up on you as you kind of come through the shot. Let's see if I can get a little bit more draw on this particular one with that. Oh yeah, easy. Easy. Well, to be honest with you, two shots that I've just hit there, which are absolutely shots that I would want to play when I'm playing this particular hole. The kind of low shot which didn't have a great deal of movement on it, maybe just a little bit of a push out to the right hand side, and then that sort of drawing shot. And the great thing about that drawing shot, it's going to come out with a little bit lower spin, and when it lands it's going to really take off when it hits the ground. So this time I'm going to try and hit it a little bit lower, but just try and hit that little bit cut shot and see if, again, you got to think when you're hitting cut shots, you're generally going to sort of, descent angle is going to come a little bit steeper, you're going to get a little bit more spin on it because the face is maybe a fraction more open. But let's see if I can just keep it down with that fade. Oh. Absolute winner. Absolute winner with those three different shots. And you got to think, I've only hit, well, I've hit 4 balls here today. I've hit that tee shot that we just hit up on the 9th tee there, and now coming on to the 10th. To be able to get those balls to kind of do what I want them to do at this time in the morning, I think is quite impressive. And the other thing, it'd be interesting to see where they've ended up, because strike-wise, I've got to say, I had a little bit of a scattering there. That first one maybe just a little bit low, a little bit out the toe, the second one right out the middle, and then the third one, again, just a little bit out the toe. The great thing about the toe strike with using, let's say, a long iron over, let's say, a hybrid, is you haven't got any gear effect going on, so that ball can still go out in the direction that you want it to kind of go, whereas if you had gear effect kicking in, that ball would want to kind of help you kind of come back a little bit more, maybe losing that little bit of curvature from left to right. So all in all, first impressions, very impressed. Now from a tech point of view, we're not seeing a great deal with this particular iron because they've cased it and they've put all the tech inside the head, focusing very much on the looks of this club. And inside, in order to generate, let's say, good ball speeds across the face with those off-centered strikes, and you saw that I had some off-centered strikes on those last couple of shots that we've hit there, we've got an L face and a V taper, which is inside the actual head, which again is going to give us that consistency across the face, giving us that maximum ball speed. We've heard this all before, but again, Titleist focusing very much on the tech in order to help, well, promote the story, I suppose, that allows us to be able to hit the shots that we want to hit with confidence. Okay, first ball, which is the kind of pushy cut shot. Didn't really move a great deal in the air, but got a lot of ground help. Got it the furthest up there, which I'm actually quite shocked about. Then you've got the second shot, which is the draw shot, which got the furthest kind of up the left-hand side here, coming kind of uphill. And then you've got the third shot, which is the little fade. But ultimately, from my point of view, I've hit the fairway all 3 times. I've got myself within 100 yards of this particular hole. It's not a long hole, it's just a tight hole. But I think from my point of view, you know, again, I'm looking for a club that's going to get me out there with shots that I want to be able to play. I don't want it to be a kind of one-trick pony. I don't want it to be able to just launch up into the air, which we're going to put to the test in just a moment, see how high it actually goes. I want something that I can be able to shape. And when you move into sort of irons like this, which have got lots of tech inside the head, you're kind of going to lose a little bit of that. We'll talk about feel and looks in just a moment, but all in all, first couple of shots, hit the fairway, got me into that scoring zone. It's a win so far. Okay, we're talking about performance and the flight optimization now. Titleist focusing on a tungsten weighting system inside the head, which is going to put the CG in the optimal position. Now, for a club like this, it's going to be pushing that CG further down in the head to be able to launch that ball up quicker. The more you bring that CG down and push it back is going to make it more forgiving. It's also going to be able to launch that ball up really quite easily. But think about those last 3 shots that I've hit down that 10th hole. I've been able to launch that ball really easily, keeping it down. But now I want to focus on trying to get that ball up in the air. How can this club perform when I want to launch it higher? I'm going to hit a normal shot down here, see how it performs. Then I'm going to hit a bit of a draw. Then I'm going to hit a little bit of a fade and see if I can get that ball to launch up in the air. Well, just a little bit higher than, let's say, what I got down the last. Stock shot, should we call it. In fact, what I want to get, really, is the same shot that I hit down the 9th. That perfect, dead straight ball flight. Not a lot going on. I've teed this up just a little bit higher this time, just to help me get it up in the air. Oh my word, it's so easy. That launched really quite high. That felt pretty good as well, considering I was off quite a high tee. And what you've got to be careful of with these clubs is sometimes when you get it a little bit high on the face, you'll get like a feedback of like, oh, like a massive shudder up the shaft. And it's because you've struck it fractionally too high and you get into kind of like weak spot of the club. But that one, I would say, was just a little bit higher than where it probably would optimize, but popped it straight up in the air really quite easily. Right, let's go with a bit of a draw this time, but I still want to get that ball up in the air. So I'm going to push that ball position a little bit further forward, make sure I keep my right shoulder just down a fraction, which will keep that launch up for me. Oh, keep drawing. A little bit harder on the draw there, but massive launch, hugely up in the air, and I got it to nicely turn over. Strike-wise, last two swings, I would say I've been pretty much out the middle. That first one just being a fraction higher, that one being, I would say, pretty much central. Feel off the face. Well, it's not, the feel off the face is not what I would kind of expect from a hollow body construction. I'm not feeling a lot of flex in the face on this particular club, which means that it's going to blend really nicely with a set of irons, a normal set of irons that don't have that face flexing. Right, let's go high fade this time. See what we get. Crikey, that went up in there, didn't it? Bit right, bit of a push cut. Okay, let's go down and have a little look at them. But first impressions again, strike-wise, feel off the face. Like I said, not getting any flexing, which is a really good thing, I think, for lots of good players. Good players like to feel solid. They want to get the sense that they don't want the flyers, they don't want the ball flying out there, and that's what you get with a little bit of flexing. They want to be able to sense that they're going to get the strike that they want and give feedback on that particular strike. Anyway, less waffling, more looking at where we've ended up. Kind of exactly what I'd expect, really. That's the fade. That was a bit of a push cut, and it's probably finished about 10 paces behind, let's say, the longest shot, which the longest shot was actually the first shot, that straight ball down here. This was the little draw, which was actually, it was a nice high launch, but I didn't get the thing to turn over quite as much as I would have maybe liked. And again, you talk about technology in the heads of these clubs. As you improve on technology, or you make a club more forgiving, it gives you, well, it gives you the help that you want from, let's say, off-centered strikes and getting that ball to launch in the right way that you want it to launch. But what you might lose is that shaping opportunity with it. However, I'm going to hit a couple of shots now from further back going into this green. We're going to see exactly how it performs off the fairway and out of the rough. And I'm going to still focus on that shaping again to see if it was more me rather than the club. About 210 yards out on this 11th hole. I've not left myself the easiest shot. I've got kind of like this wispy kind of area of the golf course right now. It's kind of where the rough would be, but it's burnt out in the summertime. I'm going to try and launch this high and hit a little bit of a fade if I can. So I'm going to kind of launch it up and over the top of that tree that's in front of us. I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue, even again being off the fairway or being off this kind of rough area here. Let's just give it a go and see if I can get a little fade up that left-hand side with a bit of high flight on it. Cool, I've ripped it. It's not cut as much as what I was kind of looking for. However, it's definitely got, well, it's got now back to that pin. I reckon that's finished 15 feet away from that flag. Let's now try and hit a little bit more of a draw down here, which I would think that for the majority of golfers, that's what they would see. I don't think they see this shot as going up and over the tree, taking risks that you don't necessarily need to take. So this shot here, trouble down the right-hand side, so you got to be careful. You got to make sure you get that draw out of it. And after that last tee shot where I didn't get as much draw, I just want to make sure I get that. So let's get that face turned in a fraction more. Oh, a little bit thin that time, but if you could hear that. Not got the shape again. Let's try and hit one more from that, to see if I can get a little bit more shape with a better strike, because that was a little bit too thin. Still get the height, should we? Yeah, there you go. There we go. No problem at all. And I think that'll probably get into the back right-hand corner of the green. Okay, we'll wander down and have a quick look at that, but What was interesting is that thin shot that I felt didn't get the vibrations that I would get, let's say, because it really was off the bottom of the club, didn't get the vibrations that I would get, let's say, out of hitting my normal 4-iron in my set with a steel shaft. So from an off-center strike point of view, really quite positive. Let's see the results. Right hand side of the green, got plenty of ground help, but this is that thin shot that didn't turn over. And generally, if I hit a ball a little bit thin out the bottom, I'm going to lose a little bit of shape for the majority of the time. So I'm not going to get the spin axis on the ball as much as I would like. However, if we come up onto the green, we can see that I've got 2 results which have actually turned out. I mean, from 200, I'm not expecting to hit the green, if I'm brutally honest, from 210 yards away. But the fact that I've got my draw shot, which is finished pretty much pin high, landing it kind of probably on the front part of that green there. And I've got my fade shot, which I know landed kind of level with the bunker here, just short of the bunker, and then worked its way around the contours to end up with 2 shots, you know, within sort of, well, I would say holeable putts for me, from 210 yards away. Gives me massive amounts of confidence when it comes to using this club. Now, from a visual point of view, like I've talked about before, very much looking like a little bit of a blade, focusing on very much the aesthetics when it comes to what does it look like when you put it on the shelf. And I think you'll find a lot of people wanting to pick this club up. Visually, when you look down at it, you've got a very limited amount of offset on this particular club. So I think for those players out there that are looking to blend this into their T100s or T150s or even T250s, this is going to work really quite nicely. You've got a very thin top line, which I love. All in all, there's not a lot of negatives that I can talk about when it comes to this club. It's definitely going to go into my bag for a while. We're going to give it a go and see how it performs. I've not used a long iron for an awful long time, but it gives me the confidence that I can hit the shots that I want to hit with it. But I'd like to hear down in the comments, are you somebody that uses a long iron? Are you somebody that's going to consider looking at the T250U as a club to possibly go into your bag? I'd like to hear down there. If you are new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll see you again on the next video.